over here, and today we have a new episode in the art review series. And today we'll be checking out the work of @penguin15. I'll be linking all of the links in the description below. So I found this artist through Instagram. I was following one of the, or I found this recommended piece. It's from a tomboy. It's from a tomboy inspirational workout page, and you don't see actual women there. It's just a bunch of anime chicks with some quotes. And one of the chicks is from, or one of the characters were drawn by this artist. And thankfully, there was a link to the artist's name or to the Twitter handle. So I do like it when people reference where they got the art, so you can actually explore that specific artist's artwork if you're into that style and such, or content. So I'm super glad that there are people out there that show due respect and actually link stuff so you can have fun and shit. For this artist, for @penguin15, lots of, oh yeah, there's also a pixiv.net. I'll link it in the description below. So the point is, this artist focuses a lot on character design, specifically on women, and a lot of like combat types of content. Soldiers, hot maids, so essentially chicks, babes with guns that are somewhat ripped and muscly. Now this is this was posted like 2 hours ago, in at least as of this recording. Now the line work is okay. It's a bit clean, it's a bit tight, but if you see his more or her more or this artist's sketches and drawings, it's not always that clean, and it's heavy on the shapes, so you don't actually have to get the anatomy right necessarily. For as long as it looks okay, it looks right enough, and that's all you need. Now for this piece, it is somewhat finished. A bit of rendering, I think, in the ground to indicate some kind of flooring, but the folds are not that fully rendered. It's just like a white or a light part and a shadow part. Nice thing here. The line work, it's a bit more apparent. It's a bit light. And there's some slight line work there, but it's not as strong. It doesn't look like a comic piece. So the rendering of it does take over, and I do like the style of the face. It's very anime-esque, so yeah. The rendering of the hair is not that complicated. Some gradient in the tip and then some like highlights here. It looks nice. Now this one is more, hopefully this is more safe for work. Lots of likes here, 58k. If we zoom in, now this is more clean, I think. Although you can still see the heaviness of the shape. It's very sharp. There's a lot of sharpness, and it's like Penguin 15 has a balance of like curves and sharpness in the style, I guess. And it looks nice. It doesn't have to look right all the time, which I do like. You can exaggerate things a bit here and there. And I think there's an emphasis on the shapes first, and then once the shape part is done in the sketch, in the drawing, then you can be more playful with the rendering, with the slight rendering of say the shadows and such. And if you have like a nice set of shapes from the beginning, adding colors, adding your rendering stuff, it just makes it look extra sweet. So even without this rendering, or even without the colors, even if it's more flat, even for example for this polo shirt, there's not a lot of rendering. It's only the light part and the shadow of the folds. It still looks hot. Even the hands, not a lot of rendering, but it looks nice. The shapes are just right. So focus more on the shapes, I think, and you can see that kind of emphasis in Penguin's work. Thank you for the followers. Yes, I am a follower of Penguin15. Lots of chicks. This one's more tomboy-ish, right? Big thighs, a bit of a thigh gap there. Very voluptuous, and obviously with the gun, short hair, pretty hot. Here we have a bunny chick. So if you want more followers, there are certain things that will get you attention. But this one has like 120k likes. Fuck. School uniforms are hot, bunny girl outfits, and maid outfits. I think these are the most dominant types of attire for like anime types of artwork. Not a lot of, it's not heavy on the rendering, but even with this kind of stable position, it still looks interesting because the shapes, there's a variety of shapes involved. So even if she's not doing anything that dynamic, it's more of like a still shot. it still looks hot. Lots of sharpness in the folds, some sharpness in the knees, curves in the calves, curves in the hair, sharpness in the chin. You see how it goes back and forth? Obviously, in the boob area, there's a bit more curves. It feels very balanced. Now, there's a slight lean on the sharpness than on the curvedness. But I think for the bunny girl, this chick, there's way more duality. Nice curves here. Oh, nice hips. There's a bit of reflected lighting here. That's cool. You can see some definition of the abs. So this piece is pretty tight on the body, which is not a bad thing, by the way. Oh, I do love it when the gloves are not fully in the wrist. I've seen this a lot in a lot of artworks recently. It looks cool. And, it's hot, so yeah. Yeah, it's not even that fully rendered. Some shadows here and there, some reflected lighting, some highlights, but because of the shape design, well, even this bit of fat here, this kind of muscle and fat, and then it gets kind of bony closer to the wrist, there's a nice balance of sharpness and curviness. So I think if you're interested in more, or if you're trying to improve your drawing, your shape design in your drawings, sketches, I do recommend you check out at Penguin 15. Oh my. Way more cinematic. The background is just blurred, but the lighting it's more combat themed. Lots of soft brush use, not a lot of texture. Maybe some patterns here for the camouflage. But the eyes are nice. The nose is often simplified. But yeah, even this still looks okay because of the drawing beforehand. The lighting just adds a bit of cinematic effect, but you have to get the drawing right. Balance both the sharpness and the curviness of your shapes. And then you can add that 3D element to your work where it looks more full after, but focus more on the shapes. Make it look good in shape form, and then once you add the 3D form, the actual form, then you can make it even better. But focus more on the shapes beforehand. Very heavy on the hands are somewhat big, but yes, it looks hot. Big bust, big thighs, the shoulders are narrow, very typical female standard. Oh my. Heavy on the chest, no shit. If you look at the actual polo shirt, it's just two values essentially. The light area and the shadow area underneath the folds. A bit of reflected lighting, it makes the tits look way more fuller, I think. And even it's not even without the actual coloring or shadow, it still looks massive. You can still see a bit of that line work. It's not fully clean. You can see it has that sketchy element to it, and it's balanced out with some decent line weight. So in one part it's very light, and then as it goes in other areas, you see some indentation, or some indent, so it's a bit darker in some corners and edges. It adds a bit of variety. So even without the colors and the shadows, it can still look somewhat interesting, and it can add a bit of variety to the work. Now for the hair, it's a bit tight actually, but for the folds of the skirt, it's pretty simple and flats here for the legs and the arms. Even the hands, it's not that defined, but you don't need much. Damn, most of the rendering happens here. This is one of my favorite pieces because it looks hot, but at the same time, there's a bit of combat element to it. And there's a bit of personality. It's not just a one shot. It's still a stable, standard position, but she is waving her hand, so that's something. And the tits, the thighs, heavily exaggerated. I love the suit design and the folds of the jacket. It reminds me a bit of the character in Cyberpunk's David Martinez. It's a mix of David Martinez's jacket and Lucy from that anime. But and yes, it has that cyberpunk element to it in a way. I love how they do the folds. Come on guys, look at that. It's so hot, it's so sexy. Even the balance of what's in the interior of the jacket and the exterior. This part right here, it's so hot. Right? And this opening here where you can see the opening. It looks so hot. And I think whenever you do folds in the jacket or sleeves or clothing, that's where you see way more variation of sharp edges and curved edges. So I think that's what makes a lot of anime work or anime styled work look cool or really eye-catching is because you have this wide range of different shapes within a specific drawing. Now, the design itself is also cool. It looks somewhat consistent. You can see this, like the shapes and the abs are also seen in the legs. So that's kind of nice. The face is pretty hot. Bit of shadow work in the hair, but it's not a fully rendered piece. It's mostly flat with some shadows. And in the edges of some of those shadows, it's a bit blurred. I'm not sure if it's like a soft brush or a mixer brush. This looks very clean though. And it's difficult seeing the line work. Maybe it's because of the darker colors, but this is one of my favorite pieces. 20k likes, so that's nice. So this one's more of a sketch, no colors, but it still looks hot. You can tell the bust size, and you can see in the line weights, there's a bit of variation there. The only thing that has like value in it is the hair, but it's a flat under color. Here we have, I'm not sure, I think this is from the Chainsaw Man series, I believe, hopefully. Like this is an upcoming character perhaps, who knows. But I've seen this character with a lot of Chainsaw Man characters. I haven't read the manga. I don't read manga, I just watch anime, but oh, by the way, don't spoil shit if you read the manga, but even if you watch anime, just let people watch. And anyway, again, the shape design looks good. It's nice. The blue or the bluish gray is some kind of, it's contrasted with the red background. And obviously the slight part here, the white-ish part, it adds way more contrast. The folds are there, not a lot of rendering involved. It's mostly flat, but the shapes are cool. I think that's what matters the most. And then even with the shadows, you can add even more shapes with the shadows. So first there's the actual drawing, and then once you add the shadow work, the contrast between the lighting and the shadow, you can add even more variation. And even after that, with like the colors and shit, if you want to add accent colors, you can add even more diversity in terms of your value range, color range, and you can even add gradients if you like. Now for this piece, I don't see a lot of gradient work. It's mostly flat. Maybe a bit in some areas, but it's so hard to see. Maybe with the sword, but most of it is just flat. If there are gradients, it's super light. A bit of reflected lighting here, which makes it a bit more 3D, even if it's flat-esque, even if it's heavy on the shape design. If you see enough variation in values, at least 3, let's say you have this like a mid value, a shadow, or maybe 4, a mid value, the shadow, the light part, and then some kind of reflected lighting in the shadow part, I think that's enough. So maybe 4, 3 to 4 is enough to make your shapely design or drawing more 3D-esque. So I'll leave the art review here. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Check out the work of @penguin15. I'll link the links in the description below, and I'll see you in the next art review.